last year's budget as part of the 2-truck package?
I thought so.
I
think
thought so
the
too.
bookkeeper said something about you have to have a resolution to pay for it.
The funds were not in the
The
budget.
funds were not put in the budget to pay
Right.
for it.
This
Even
is,
though you guys voted to buy the truck and move the money, it wasn't put in the budget or something.
This is-
Was it in 2017 and not 18? Is that what it is? Or
17.
17?
This is one of the items that was found, that there is a difference between the boardroom and the bookkeeping. The other one that Mr. Beckett is looking at is the building fund. $500,000. The board made motions to create it, even you corrected it. It isn't just one motion, you made corrected motions, and they never hit the bookkeeping.
Okay, so this is, I get it. We appropriated this, but it needs to be moved from a line. for
The
this
money
year.
needs to be
Okay.
moved
I got you.
in the
Okay.
bookkeeping. It'll be reflected in next month's business here.
I'm just thinking that for some reason, when we did the 2017 reconciliation, it should have showed up there because we made the motion
Yeah.
to buy it and appropriate it. We had it in the budget line, 73,000 for the 2 trucks for him. And I'm just wondering where it went. So, okay, maybe we can get some clarification next year on that reconciliation. But if we need to put it in, we gotta move it, so, okay.
Mr. Beckett will be coming and going through all the motions made in 2017 and comparing them with the state budget pages. That'll be done probably this next week. We wanted to wait until after the tax money had cleared the town clerk's office, so that we weren't overburdening staff. All right, I made the motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, vouchers. Somebody's gotta make a motion to pay the bills.
Make a motion to pay the abstracts.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second.
Quick discussion, what is the item called? Criminal justice insurance or something like that? Is that our guard money for the court or some other?
I saw that in this month's vouchers. Yeah, the town's coverage, now I'm going from memory here, back when I used to serve municipalities. The judge in particular is a claims-made type coverage, false arrest, wrongful imprisonment, this kind of stuff, where there's a specific exclusion in the general liability of the town's coverage.
Kind of similar, I think, to our undertaking. It's almost the same thing for him.
That's right,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, it has some coverage in there for handling money and that stuff.
Yeah. So you have a motion discussion?
Okay,
Moving
we had a motion, we had a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right,
Justice report.
oh my gosh, I slipped up on that one again?
Move to accept the justice report.
Okay, second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, public comment. Yeah,
I've got a couple things. The flags on the cemetery, the big cemeteries, are still put on. I don't know who does it. A couple other things. There doesn't seem to be anything more important than the highway things in our town, or more expensive. It's a complicated thing with the trucks. We are very fortunate to have 2 people, even though one is on the county level and the other is on the town level, that understand that. We're lucky to have Sean here.
Thank you.
The other one is the records of the people that attend. Now, they always used to be right in the minutes, always. And this had been brought up before, to have a separate paper. Frankly, I think they're very important, a couple reasons. I think that, I remember when I was to the meeting, and my name was on to the meeting that I was there, when that building thing was set up. I don't know whether it would ever amount to anything, but you are a witness. I think that could become an important thing someday, plus the fact that historically, it's important too. Someday or other, when somebody looks down over the thing, well, did this town board do something all on their own, or were there other taxpayers of the town that witnessed it? I think that's an important thing, that's all.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes.
Thank you. On the topic.
What's your name?
My name is John McClone. I'm a
Okay.
resident of the town of Palatine, and that speaks to the subject that I'm gonna address. Notwithstanding Skip's point, it has come up before in meetings, the notion of a sign-in sheet. And it refreshed my memory about a section of the Open Meetings Law, Section 103, and opinions from the Committee on Open Government and the Department of State, specifically September 12th, 2013, which states as a matter of opinion that you cannot compel a person attending an open meeting to sign a register. So the requirement of a signature and attaching it to the meetings seems to be something that the open meetings law prohibits a town from doing. Let me please finish.
I don't see
There's
it that way.
public comment. Thank you. I know you don't, and you're obviously well researched, and you do all your homework. So in your opening comment, you mentioned that somebody thought it was a good idea. The natural corollary then is if somebody, me as an example, at the next meeting, believing in my rights and the opinion of the Department of State and the Open Meetings Law, that I'm not compelled to sign a register.
Let's go a little further with that.
Please, let's go ahead.
There's nothing in that law that says I can't deny you access.
I'm glad you said that, and we'll certainly find out if you choose to exercise that. As a resident attending an open meeting, if you feel you have that right, because I don't sign a register.
I don't know you're a resident.
It's a very,
Regardless.
it's a very interesting joke, and I do resent it.
Well, regardless, John, we're not here to create controversy. We're here to create a good job for the town and do the best that we can do. And you know, knowing who comes in that door with the amount of problems in the world today, I think is a good thing, and we're gonna go with it.
I welcome the opportunity to challenge you. Thank you.
Thank you.
You got that?
Anybody else? Yes.
The trouble with a sign-in sheet, it probably got it right. The only thing, a separate sign-in sheet,
I don't.
whether they're gonna stay on fast to the minutes or not, I don't know. But that's an important thing to me.
Yeah. Well, there's so many laws, it's awful hard to be 100% correct. Often, but that's okay. Anybody else? Yes.
Paul Spencer, Palatine Bridge. Got a number of things here. Mr. Supervisor, I've been sitting at these meetings now for almost 11 years. And it seems what I've been observing is that you're making a simple job a little bit more complicated. Maybe we're going in the right direction, I don't know. The main job in that your board here is keeping a balanced budget. The things that you've got two items that to me are very important, and they're the most costly that we deal with within our town. One is fire, and the other is highway. Highway consisting of about 75% of our budget. Fire is quite large, but what I want to stress on the fire protection, with the system that we have 4 companies on our perimeter with probably, I'm estimating, because this I did not do complete research, I'm going to say approximately 12 trucks of monstrous quality and ability to fight fire. Again, remember, trucks don't fight fires, men that operate them fight fires. The only thing that Palatine lacks in a very good fire control would be a good source of water, which has been suggested, and it would also improve the firefighting capabilities. And so that's where I am on that one. I'm not gonna go into great detail on highway. We all know what highway is very expensive. There's been some remarks made tonight. In the last week or two, I have made contact with 12 different highway departments in 5 different counties, including one is our own county. I find the main object is moving snow and keeping the roads sanded. And we all have, of all the highway companies that I talk to, they all have a little different method of how they accomplish the point. One is, one of the ones that notice in my mind is the consecutive equipment. In other words, all their equipment's the same, like they all got XYZ trucks. I'm not gonna name trucks off. I will say Mack and International were your 2 popular trucks. I had comments on the Western Stars. I'm not gonna go into that. I just say they're popular. I didn't say why. They're the most used. But the main object is to keep the roads clear with some degree of economy. My one point that I try to impress, and I think this is something I cannot get out of my head, is we're spending almost a third of our budget on one truck. Yes, you're going to spread it, but we're going to spread. Mr. Logan or whoever's our superintendent of highways 3 or 4 years from now, we got 2 internationals up there that are getting a little age on it. I'm surprised we are not looking to replace them. We also have a grade all that the people seem to think this pretty another war out. Where is this money going to come from? Are we going to continue to borrow and borrow and borrow? Remember, if you depreciate a truck on 12 years, I've heard 7 years. The example was given of Casanova. I know of one of the trucks that Casanova sold on 7 years. It's down in this area. Casanova and Palatine Bridge are 2 different people as far as money. They have money like we would wish we had money. It's a different, Casanova is probably one of the richest townships, communities in upstate New York. And I'm not going down in Putnam County or Westchester or out on the island or any places like that. So my point is, we're replacing a truck that's 20, 21 years old, I'm not sure exactly, 20 or 21 years old, a 6-wheeler that's been criticized because it doesn't have adequate capacity to get all the way around with sand. I have townships that told me their routes are long enough, even with the 10-wheelers, they gotta come back. So what difference does it make? The man is still working. He's not gonna get, when he's done with his plow run, he doesn't go home. He's still there on the pay clock. So what difference does it make whether he's gotta come in and go back? So I guess my main point in all of this is that highway is very, very expensive, but I think with proper budgeting, you could do considerably better on your retirement of machinery. The other point I want to make, I should start with this whole thing I should start, is you talk about the usability of the truck. I used this example one time in one of the talks I had here at the town of Palatine. The United States Navy just retired an aircraft carrier CVA-N 65 after 48 years in the ocean. That ship was a home to 5,000 sailors and airmen in the middle of the ocean. We are not in the middle of the ocean. It was 48 years that ship floated. I think we could get better life out of trucks. We have a neighboring town. I know Mr. Logan looks down his nose at it. Their 2 trucks just finished 30 years of plowing, and their routes are longer than ours. It was also expressed, the frame on the truck that we're looking at is getting old and is rusted. I talked to a frame specialist, they're right here within our community. For a measly $21,000, we could have a truck reframed. All we gotta do is take the box off, put it back on. That's our labor. They will do it also, but they're gonna pay $75 an hour to get it done. So with those thoughts in mind, look at your 2 major expenses. Some of these things you can't control. Your highway can be controlled. Your fire contracts, you're getting a bargain. You're getting a bargain. All we need is a water source as far as to aid our fire control. I hate to think ever of, we have to think of building a fire company here in Palatine Bridge or Palatine Town. So with those thoughts in mind, that's what I kind of prepared for the night, and that's what I kind of looked at, and that's what I kind of think in the long run we should look at. It's something you sit down and say, how long will the truck last us? How long, and if you start borrowing money, I've been in the business of borrowing money for a long, long time. I'm a businessman myself, and I work with older machinery. My farm did not grow. Palatine's Township did not grow. We still have actually less roads to maintain than we did 40 years ago. So with those thoughts in mind, why are we spending $250,000, very close to $250,000 for a truck that might make 18 or 20 years? I don't know. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
Getting back to the flags being put on the cemeteries, how many cemeteries are involved in that?
I say, I don't know.
Skip, can you elaborate on that?
I really don't know.
That's why,
Are we talking cemeteries, for example, like at Trinity Lutheran Church and in Nelston, that cemetery? And the one behind on Tilton Road? Are those some of them? The only reason I'm asking is, in the past, what has happened at Trinity is Trinity has provided the flags. Then the American Legion got involved and they wanted to do it. So we let them do it and they put them on. Now this past year, they were there. I'm pretty sure it was the American Legion. The man asked me what I was doing and did I need flags for Memorial Day. And I said, yes, how much do I owe you? And he said, they're free. And he said, we go around and put them on the graves. But I do not know if he was with the Legion or not, American
maybe we
Legion.
should contact the Legion.
So I would suggest you
Well,
contact the.
Fritz Ann just came to me why they were in having an executive session, and she told me a bit of information that I've got to check out too, so
Sure.
I will check that out.
Thank you.
Yes, Joe.
Joe Anthony, President of the Fire Department of Fort Plain. Here on Fire Department business. ISO money, 2% funded for the fire contracts. We have not been paid for the past 2 years.
What is this, Joe?
This is a 2% ISO reimbursement fund done by your insurance company, okay? It's a 2% fund. It doesn't amount for a lot of money, but it's stuff that.
This is money that should go to the Fort Plain Fire Department?
It
Is that
actually
what
goes
you're
to the
saying?
village, okay, and the village
To the
forwards
village.
it to the fire department.
Is this
okay?
the one that, there used to have a check come here, we gave it to you, Frank, didn't we? Send it to you and then you would divide it out? There used to
We
be.
had that like several years ago that happened. Then
Yeah,
that stopped
and I
happening.
asked the bookkeeper about it after I talked to you, I think it was.
Right, and she called me back, and that was the last I heard from her.
She thought she got a letter saying that they weren't gonna involve the town with it anymore. I think she said that they were gonna send it directly to you, but
The
I'm
rest
not
of them, Bill,
100%.
for the Canterbury Fire Department have come to us, but for some reason, the town one kinda got snagged somewheres in the loophole.
It hasn't come here. I do know that, cause I open up all the mail and it hasn't come here. Even last year, I remember it didn't come.
No.
So I don't know, it's something that,
It's something to do with state law, but somehow you guys have not control of it, but
we,
they
yeah.
put you into the pie. And
Who's
what
doing
it-
the paying?
I would say the state of New York. It goes.
State of New York?
I would say
It
so.
comes
though.
from the ISO though, right?
It's ISO
Right.
money.
It's obviously you're in the insurance business, but it comes from.
Insurance Services Office, is that what that is?
I'm not sure where
That's
exactly it
ISO to
comes
me.
from. But what happens is if Bill there buys insurance from a company that their headquarters is out of the state of New York, they have to pay this premium on their insurance premium. The homeowner does, and that's where that money comes from.
I know insurance companies pay a lot of tax in your homeowner's premium. There's about 25% tax that the state takes
That's
from
probably
insurance
part of it.
companies, and we never see it. Where that money gets distributed or what they do with it, I have no idea. So you're telling me that the fire departments are supposed to be getting a check
Yes.
from the state of New York.
Well,
Where can I go, where can
I can't help you on that part because it always comes from, it originally came from the towns.
Yes, it was sent to the town and I.
Then a couple towns got screwed up where they were supposed to send, say, 4 separate, in this case, because each department in the township would get a part of that pie. But then they sent one year to her where we had to divide it amongst one department, had to send separate checks out to the other 3.
No, you serve more than one township. Is there a township now that's giving you money?
Yeah, we've gotten everything but
Tell me
this
who
one.
they are.
Town of Kanjahari and
Town of Kanjahari.
Town of Minden for Joe.
That 2% money for the town of Minden usually comes.
How long ago did you get it, Joe?
We usually get our annual 2% from town of Minden either May or June.
May or
Comes.
June?
But the town of Palatine was always earmarked for January, February. That's past practice.
I'm gonna say maybe we could go back.
Yeah, 'cause last year-
See if there was checks.
Yep. It was in 2017, there was nothing, okay?
Right.
So
How
you
much
have
are
to-
we talking?
Couple hundred. Well, it depends.
about-
It goes up and down
Yeah,
depending on the amount of.
$200
It
there
used
was
to
a
be
check for.
companies.
5 or 6 years ago, it was a substantial
grand.
$2,000, $3,000
Yeah.
grant, but the state has clamped down on that disbursement. And just like Frank says, it's, roughly $200-300 every year. It's not annually, it's not biannually, it's not,
Well, I don't know.
If we can get you something, we will.
That's why, we're just here to,
If I can find where the money's flowing, maybe I can identify some kind of a trail. I
and there's
can.
different, the different townships, there's different earmarks and different times of year that we get paid. Town of Minden usually rolls in May, June, I checked with my treasurer, I've been the president for 5 years, and it's been a regular payment. I remember the disbursement from Frank that we got, 5 years ago or 4 years ago.
Yeah, well, I used to open up all the mail and I used to see these checks. But when Sarah was supervisor, I was not allowed to open up anything that was addressed to her. So I don't know anything about it in the last 4 years.
Okay.
But before that, I do know checks did come here because I would open up the mail and I would see them and give them to the supervisor.
Yeah, I'm just here to bring back information for our monthly meeting next week, because it was brought up in our, treasurer's report or something. That's all. Just here to,
Is it just this year you haven't got paid yet,
no,
Joe?
we haven't gotten 2 years.
17 too?
Well, 17 was a no pay.
Sounds like
so.
the problem is with the previous
Us still,
supervisor.
we're in the same boat. We got 16.
Yeah.
We got 16, but you haven't got 17 or
We got record up to 16.
Yeah, I'll
Okay.
look into it.
Because it's right in our minutes in that, the town of Palatine, just like I said, it was past practice when Frank and I discussed it with him. It was always a check January, February, town of Palatine. And then our Minden would come in mid-year. And that hasn't been a problem, so.
Linda's gonna be looking into it. Let's see
Okay.
what we can get for you.
Just here to,
We didn't know where to go,
Hey.
Bill. I mean, I
That's
called
right. You know what
Linda
it is.
before, your bookkeeper called me, I haven't heard
Yeah,
nothing back.
because that's what I.
She was supposed to try to find out a way to point us in the right direction and, we were getting checks from the towns, so we have no idea where the money come from originally to the town.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna see if I can maybe go back far enough that I can, because I always take copies of checks. When I get checks, I take a copy. And then I have a copy and the bookkeeper has a copy, so we know what we're getting in. But like I said, the last 4 years, I wasn't allowed to open it up, so I
Okay.
would have to look back farther.
Well, what about the other 2 fire districts? You got St. John'sville and.
All 4 of them.
They were all
Ephrata
forward to
for
divide it.
sure has not got it, cause I had a conversation with him Saturday night. So I
Ephrata
don't know
too?
about I would assume it's all 4 of us.
Mhm.
Okay. For 17 and
for the
18?
past 2 years, yeah.
Okay.
Is it keeping you guys from doing something?
No, we'll still
Okay,
come fight for
well,
your
I'm
fire.
just asking because.
No,
We still like you.
Okay.
We'll come put your fire out, don't worry.
No, it's not that. I don't want you guys to be.
well, just so
crippled
the
in your
public
budget.
knows,
No,
this money has to be spent on the membership
On the membership one.
as a whole.
It's a
So,
we call it a 2%.
We buy jackets or whatever we need.
How many guys in the fire department?
We're way down.
We're at 44.
We're at
44.
36.
That's not much stake, is it?
We're at 36 out of
No.
50, so we're low. So, we even got an Amish guy getting it. I have to go.
They drive the truck,
I might
right?
have
Do you have anybody that went to Maryland yet, though, with a fire truck?
Not yet. Pretty good eye on them. They don't like the wash hours, but we make sure they're in the station.
Is there anybody else?
Thanks.
Yes.
One
Why?
last thing.
Oh, did you, oh, while Frank Nestle is here, he and I had a long conversation in the grocery store the other day about, that's what I thought he was gonna bring up, about continuing on looking for these fire ponds, finding out which ponds are available, who's got them, and so that we can have a list of them and where they are and the permission to use them, and then to get the roadways to them. But the other issue that we talked about was what they call super water trucks, about having a water truck up in our garage that we could use to respond in the wintertime, or even in the summertime, put on the outside, in the wintertime inside, to respond to a fire site. So the water's already in the truck, and you take your truck, like they use to water down the roads and stuff, one of those super water trucks to the fire site. Isn't that correct, Mr. Nestle?
The only problem that lied I explained to her was everybody that drives that truck has to be trained to fight a fire. That's New York State law.
And so that was the other issue that we discussed. And that would be to talk about doing something like that, like maybe one of our road guys that we could certify. And this could be something we could start, you know, helping the fire department this way too. So that's just something to think about. And I don't know if we still have an active committee on that. I know Mr. Spencer was involved in that, but I think we should keep a committee or have a committee on that to continue on with this idea.
I have not chosen to address the fire ponds and hydrant issue yet.
I know.
I had an agenda here. The first was the money, the second is the housing, and the fire ponds, although I am not in favor of the town of Palatine owning a fire pond,
Right.
the entire discussion should not be scrapped. There is good that can come out of that. I am happy to participate in it. I don't want to shut it off.
Oh, I just wanted to bring it up because Mr. Nestle was here too, so I thought we would.
Well, it's a complicated issue. It's an issue that I have a lot of experience with dealing in the private firefighting market on large buildings. I have an extensive background there. However, with municipalities owning fire ponds, I have no experience at all, and the only ancillary experience I have there is as a commercial lines fire underwriter for a large insurance company that insured manufacturers in New York State. I participated in the specifications and building of fire ponds for private building owners who obviously had a lot of money on the table. In that arena, out of maybe 10 items that we looked at, maybe one would come to fruition. I don't see the town of Palatine owning fire ponds and being